all of this points to why it's so important to give feedback in a timely manner. Give feedback in a timely manner. If I was to give someone feedback on something happened a day or 2 days ago, I could probably do that well. The moment that's a week or 2 weeks ago, there's a lot of risk. I almost want you to assume that difficult conversations have a shelf life. Just like items in your refrigerator. There's things in my refrigerator that taste good. Some of them are even healthy. But all of them have this little line that says best before this date. And if I wait until that date has passed, well, that very same food item may be quite unhealthy, even downright dangerous. The same is true for these difficult conversations. This idea of giving and receiving feedback. If I wait too long, I may not even remember the situation correctly, much less assume that the other person remembers it the way I do. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make sure that we don't kind of exceed that shelf life and we give feedback in a timely manner. And the reason is because it minimizes what's called awfulizing. I believe it was Stephen Covey who originally termed this slang word awfulizing. He said, if something happens to us and a person does something that frustrates us, it's fine. But if we don't deal with it, and we think about it a little bit later, all of a sudden that low-level frustration, I'm actually more frustrated. Well, then I still didn't deal with it, but I went home and I kept thinking about it. And now I mistakenly talked to a colleague or a friend about it. And they said, well, that happened to them too. Well, now this low-level frustration is becoming a big deal. 2 days later, I see that same person and I am downright angry or frustrated. What's happened is I let something that wasn't a big deal awfulize over time. And it became a big deal it never had to be. I worked in an organization for years and we had in place what was called the 48-hour rule. The 48-hour rule. What that meant was if you couldn't let something rest, if you couldn't let something go, or if you shouldn't let something go, meaning you really should have that conversation, you had 2 days. And what was interesting is for a lot of people, that gave them a deadline. Okay, if I'm going to have this conversation, I will have it by tomorrow. For me, it actually allowed me to slow down a bit. I'm a pretty emotional person, and sometimes I'm better just to kind of breathe and think things through. But the 48-hour rule made sure that if I can't let something rest, the conversation would happen in a timely way. The other thing that would happen with the 48-hour rule is it pushed people away from that back channeling and gossip. If I went to somebody and said, did you notice what happened in the meeting yesterday with person X? They would say, Tim, I am more than willing to have this conversation with you so long as I know you're going to talk to that person in 2 days. If you're going to live out the 48-hour rule, let's process. If not, I can't have this conversation because then I'm just gossiping. And it happened to me. I had to enforce it with others. But, if we can embrace now, do you need a 48-hour rule? Not necessarily. But do you have systems in place so that feedback's given in a timely way? So you're going to the right person and not behind their back. That's the challenge I want you to be thinking about.